Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. I wanted to make a video about trip planning and how I go about planning for these big mountain objectives. I am very fortunate as a high school physics teacher. I get my summers off and I try to spend as much time in the mountains as possible. However, my success in the mountains really depends upon all the prep work and research that I do before I even park my car at the trailhead. I wanted to take you through my methodology, my workflow, how I plan for these objectives. And I'm actually going to take you through how I plan an upcoming trip to Split Mountain in California. So please come along for the ride. I think I have some really cool resources, some really cool functionalities. Maybe you've seen some of them, maybe you haven't, but let's get into it. Step one of planning a trip is you need to pick an objective, and you can do this in many ways. Talk to people, see what they've done, see what they like. That's a great way to find some objectives. Another thing that a lot of people do is look at lists. So, in Colorado, I think the list of the 14,000 foot mountains, a lot of people try to hike through. On the East Coast, the 48, 4,000 footers in New Hampshire is really popular. Living in California, there's kind of two big lists. The first one being the list of the 14,000 foot mountains. And the other list is the SPS, or the Sierra Peaks section list. The Los Angeles Club chapter of the Sierra Club maintains the summit registers and a list of 247 peaks in the High Sierra that they deem worthy. And they have it available for a free PDF online. And I think this is an awesome list. They have the peaks grouped geographically. And they give a little bit of detail as well as the map that you could use to actually get further details about the peaks. And then depending upon how many of the peaks you actually climb, you can sort of get commendations or emblems. On the Sierra Peaks section list, you will see some peaks have a single star. A single star is a mountaineer's peak. So this peak is going to be either technical or it's going to be historically significant in the history of North American mountaineering. And then they also have these peaks with 2 stars. These are called emblem peaks. These are the big prizes. These are, the biggest, the baddest peaks in the range. And they're really, really big deals and very proud objectives. Another way to pick an objective would be by using, a guidebook or something like that. If you are climbing in California, this book, RJ Secor, The High Sierra Peaks, Passes, and Trails, is the Bible. This has pretty much every summit in the Sierra that is worth hiking, according to the author, who is very, very well traveled. And he lists, most of the routes, most of the trails, pretty much all the info you need for anything in the Sierra can be found in this book. It belongs on every California peak bagger's shelf. A few other places you can go to get some beta or some information. I really like Summit Post. Summit Post it's a lot of older material, but the information is really, really good and a lot of it really holds up. Mountain Project is another good website that I like to use. Mountain Project is really good for more technical routes, a lot of rock climbing or stuff 3rd class and above, but Mountain Project has a lot of really great routes in it as well. Lastly, All Trails is something that a lot of people are familiar with. I like All Trails just because they share the length and elevation gain very prominently, so it's easy to see. But All Trails doesn't really have a lot for more sort of rugged, cross-country, off-trail type hiking that I like to do. Once you have an objective, you need to do some research. So I settled on hiking Split Mountain this summer. So I've kind of already done the research in the Secor book. I've read as much as I can on Summit Post. I also looked up some trip reports, and also some YouTube videos can really be a good idea to show you what kind of terrain sort of you're getting into. What trailhead am I going to? Do I need a permit? Do I need an overnight permit if I'm backpacking? In some areas, you might even need a day use permit, somewhere like the Desolation Wilderness. Or I think the Sisters in Bend, Oregon require day use permits, so you might need to look into that. Want to make sure, the road to access I can pass through in my vehicle, which is a Subaru Outback, which, all-wheel drive, little bit of ground clearance, I can't take the really, really gnarly dirt roads. Once all that looks good, I am going to both research it on my own way and then sort of corroborate that with what other people have to say. The first place I always go to is Gaia GPS. So Gaia offers really, really nice high definition maps of all the areas. Here is Split Mountain. Here is Red Lake. I can sort of see the trail ending at Red Lake, and then you kind of go cross country from there. My favorite feature of Gaia is the route tool. So I can use this to get mileage and distance figures. So yeah, the route tool will follow a trail if you're on a trail. And then if it's off trail, you can sort of just set your own waypoints. So I will get this information. This is basically what I would do my first day, hike about 3.5 miles, gaining 4,000 feet up to Red Lake. And then from there, I want to do some route planning. So both through trip reports and through my own sort of eyeing, the way to do this is to sort of go up and around here. I'm not going to go into vivid detail on how to read contour maps. There's a lot of great content already out there on that. But generally you want to look for the least steep option. And on a contour map, the further away the contour lines are, the less steep it is going to be. So I happen to know through the reading of trip reports that the way to do it is to sort of go up like this. There's a little chute somewhere that I go, and then I'm gonna sort of follow this ridge line or field all the way up to the top. So this gives me all the information I need in terms of distance as well as elevation gain. And another really cool feature that you can use on Gaia is if you press the O button, it will give you the out and back information. So this would be for the round trip, is going to be about 10. So for the round trip, it's going to be about 10.7 miles, 7,700 feet of gain. I think that mileage is a little low from reading other trip reports. And usually when you're going cross country, you know, you're not going to be moving in a perfectly straight line like this. But I think the elevation figure sort of speaks for itself. That's really, really nice to see. Other things you can do in Gaia is you can go into the 3D mode. And the 3D mode sort of lets you kind of get a lay of the land. If you use control and click and drag, you can sort of get some perspective, look at what's going on. You can zoom in really high definition, figure all that out. So I have a pretty good plan in my head of where I want to go, at least on the contour map. You know, I think I've kind of picked the line of least resistance, the easiest way. But I still just want to check a few things, make sure that this does look like the route I want to go. To do that, I like to go to Google Earth. Google Earth does a lot of great 2D or 3D sort of satellite photo maps. And this will give you an idea of the terrain you're getting into. You know, just because a route looks nice, it might not be. You know, can you pick between a talus field versus like hiking on slabs? The hiking on the slabs is going to be way easier. Is there like trees that's going to mean you have to be doing some bushwhacking versus just, you know, kind of hiking across a meadow? Like I use Google Earth for that. Google Earth also has a 3D view. The 3D view will either rotate slowly or you can shift, click, and drag to get what you want. And Google Earth honestly has really, really good definition, and I use Google Earth to sort of plan my routes. Some of the more popular routes that don't have an official trail, you can actually zoom in on Google Earth and see the actual exact path that some people take. And I think that's really good information to have in your head. You know, oh, like go up to the right and you make sure, you know, you hit the second saddle or something like that. Google Earth can really show you kind of what it looks like from the comfort of your home. So when you're actually there, you kind of, you know, the terrain feels more familiar to you. So, you know, my route would take me sort of somewhere up around here. This part looks the most technical. So I'd probably spend a lot of time going up through here, looking. I think if you zoom in some places, you might be able to see some evidence of human travel. Like maybe up through there, that might be part of the path. I mean, this route is definitely traveled. It's not the most popular thing, but it's definitely traveled. But, you know, looking through here, I'd say, you know, ooh, these cliffs probably aren't looking good. Going up to the right's definitely the way to do it. Stay hard right until you get to this talus field. And then once you get to that talus field, it's pretty much just go uphill until you get to the top. Yeah, I like using Google Earth for the terrain just so I sort of know what I'm getting into. The one thing that Google Earth does not do very well is provide sort of like current photos. You know, I don't know when these photos were taken. Like, you know, what does the snow actually look like there? We don't quite know. And this is my secret weapon. So Sentinel Hub or Sentinel Playground, this is a free to use satellite website that has real-time satellite photos of areas. This is Red Lake right here. This is Split Mountain. So this is basically the same area that we were looking at on Gaia earlier. Let me just flip that right there. So on Gaia, we have Red Lake right here, Split Mountain. If I go to Sentinel, we have Red Lake right there and Split Mountain. I can go to the calendar and I can see exactly what days the satellite was over this area. And usually you do this as close to your trip as possible. So this day, this is June 25th, 2022. I can see, there's a little bit of snow, really not that much snow. We can go to, a day in August. Let's pick a day. And hey, we see that snowfield melts. This is really, really important, especially, hiking early season or if it's gonna be a big snow year, just to give you an idea of what you're getting into. The book might say, oh, just go up the talus field to the top, but if the talus field's actually a snow field, you might wanna pack some crampons, you might wanna pack some other things. And Sentinel Hub really gives you, 2-3 days ago, what's it looking like, will really give you a good idea of what you're gonna be getting into when you are there. So once I have done all of my research of the trip reports, YouTube, the Gaia, the Google Map, the Sentinel Hub, to try to get the best idea of everything, the last step is execute. So in order to execute your objective, make sure you're fit, make sure you did all the training, everything you need to do to have a good time out there and not have a sufferfest. I would highly recommend sleeping well the night before. And lastly, for safety concerns, I would recommend sharing your itinerary with at least one other person and probably bringing some type of locator beacon, a Garmin InReach or something like that is always good to have. All right, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you learned some cool tips and tricks from this video. I'm going to link all of the resources that I mentioned in this video down in the comments, so please check that out. I also want to hear from you. Do you have any resources? Do you have any questions about how to plan trips or anything? I'll gladly assist or help you out. If you have any other cool resources to share, I'd also love it if you shared those in the comment section. And lastly, I'd love it if you could hit that subscribe button. It really helps me. I'm trying to put out some type of either adventure or trip related video every single week, and the support really matters. So thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.